Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I would say thank you, guests. That's what I'm used to saying at a time like this. But today I'm a guest, and the first thing I want to say is that it's my privilege to be here. And it's been a long time since I've been in a Toastmasters room, and I feel this space. It's like I can feel it. I can feel you're listening. And I can hear it. I can hear you listening. And I appreciate being in a room like this, that we're listening for each other's greatness. That's how I like to talk about it anyway. It's a very unusual topic for me to have these days of who are you? What's an icebreaker? What do you like as a person? Because if there's one thing I've learned from all the coaches and the trainers and the self-help authors and the gurus and the spiritualists and the Buddhas and the Christ Jesuses of the world is that I should stop thinking about myself so much. But it's almost all I ever think about. I know one thing I'm not, and that is that I am not the little voice in my head that says, I think, and I feel, and this is how I assess that, and this is how I judge that, whenever anything happens. And if you want to get a sense for what I'm talking about, I suggest that sometime you join me down by the banks of Lake Michigan here in Chicago on a nice night in summer that's coming up. And you look up with me at the sky and you say to the universe, I think, and I feel, and this is what I believe. And then you wait. And I think you'll start to get a sense of the overwhelming indifference that this room, that this city, that this world can have about the matter of my opinion. And over the last few years, thanks to the help of my girlfriend, my friends, my family, as I've grown up to be a young man now at the ripe old age of 30, I think that I'm finally starting to get on the side of the universe in this matter of my opinion. I do like to run, though. That's something, as a matter of fact, you should know about me. And one place I like to run is through the cemeteries. Some people might find running through a cemetery to be a depressing thing, but I think that it's an inspiring thing. I get to see all the tombstones, and I get to think to myself, who was this person? What were they like? What did they accomplish in life? Did they accomplish more than me? I hope not. Well, that's kind of selfish. I make it about me again. But I think, what would I like to be on my tombstone? They write down all my accomplishments on it. I guess they'd have to chisel it. I hope it would be a tall tombstone as well. But the one thing I've been thinking about recently is that it's not going to have anything on there that's between my ears in terms of these matters of what I think and what I feel and what I believe about myself. The only thing that's going to be on it is something that you all have to say about what I did with my life. So in the last few years, I've gotten moving in this matter of what am I going to do with myself. I lost 70 pounds in the last year and a half. I started a business. I made some new friends, and I changed my lifestyle. And what I've learned about that in the matter of getting myself under control is something I can finally hang my hat on. But about what I'm doing these days, it's on the tip of my tongue, just as a matter of getting to know me and the sorts of things I think about and the sorts of things I'm doing. I'm reading a book recently on the unrelated topic of trust. And I thought to myself as I came back to Toastmasters, a lot of people, I think, my experience, I came to Toastmasters and I thought to myself, I have these feelings of fear and I need to learn to be a public speaker and I'll get over the fear. And I think I actually learned some ways to cover it up. Like that was the first step for me. Like I'm going to play the cover up in public speaking. I'm going to be an actor and I'm going to put on a show. And then there's a second step, which is what I'm focusing on now, which is putting myself back into my speaking. I spent a lot of time taking myself out of my speaking, and now I want to put myself back in. And what I mean by that is to take away some of the defenses and take away some of the insincerities and the inauthenticities and put my heart back out there and what I want to speak about. So in this matter of trust, I've been paying attention in my business life. I've been paying attention in my personal life whenever I come up to a problem or a frustration or a problem with listening and understanding other people, the first thing I ask myself is, what is going on here that a little bit of trust could take care of? What is it that I'm avoiding? What is it that I'm afraid of? And I'm going to have to make that the subject of my next speech because I am at my time limit. But I want to thank you for the opportunity to come here and listen to me share a few unreconciled thoughts about myself and to just play and have some fun in this space again. And I feel like the mood is lifted, like the room, I can just reach out and feel it. And I wish I could keep playing with you all. But have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you soon. Mr. Toastmaster, please.
I thought about Anthony Robbins. It was a nice, vibrant speech. I really enjoyed it, and I really got to know you. And you had good movement. You know, you worked with the crowd. You know, you're on this side, then you're on that side.
So it's really great. You know, at your age, people really don't think about cemeteries. Wow, that was impressive. I gotta say, you have this smooth, casual element that you look like you're perfectly at ease out there, and as though you knew each one of us and were just having a good one-on-one conversation. Worked really well. And your body language not only reflected but emphasized that as you were talking about some of the ways and you wish you'd like us to join you. Come on down and do this and that. When you kind of change the tone, you kind of change your body language too. So everything seemed to agree with each other as you were delivering your lines, what you were saying, what your face said, and the way your body was behaving. About the only thing I can think to watch for, there were a couple points where your words seemed to trail off, as though you just kind of run-on sentence that didn't want to end. Maybe once or twice that happened. I can see that. I think I might be nitpicky here. And at the end, the way you summed it up by thanking us for the time and attention was nice, and then you kind of went into how you have all these thoughts that you're reconciling and so forth. And I was much more interested in all these thoughts you're trying to assemble in your head than the fact that you were thankful for being up there. Just tell us, you know, I've still got these thoughts in my head and I can't wait to share them all with you guys as I put them together and have the stories come out. But you could have skipped the thanks for the time, we all know that. I wanted to hear that last closing tidbit.
It's quick because everybody's pretty much have said everything. I love the rate of your voice, a nice speaking rate, nice tone. I like the concept of trust too. That's more I would like to hear about your speech. Putting yourself back in your speeches and trust. Very strong eye contact. There's a flip side to that, I'm sure a little later. Very strong eye contact, you work the crowd. You had a ton of thoughts. I think I would have just narrowed it down to 3 things I want to share about myself. I thought it was interesting that you were running in the cemetery. So how did you stop to read the stones? You will tell me about that later. I'm sure you stopped and read and not just run through it. But anyway, I thought, well, how's he doing that? The eye contact. I think in a room this size, I like what Rocky said. If you had looked at me as intense as you did, it was a little uncomfortable in the beginning for me, but if you had said, you know, Cynthia, I would relax right away. So I'm thinking in a larger venue, that type of strong eye contact is probably really effective, but I have to agree, I think in a smaller, the name and that type of intensity would have made all the difference. So I'm still at $15,000.
We just pass it around.
But you know, but thank you very much. I enjoyed listening to you.
Ben, you're very personal. Pause has already mentioned the ideas, the energy. A lot of these thoughts for improvement are about when you have more time to develop a speech. Because here you're just kind of throwing something together and I get it. You throw something to the wall, see what sticks. Okay. But are you taking more time when you're thinking about redoing the speech or some ideas? As I mentioned at the beginning, you use the word I a lot. And it's okay if you balance it out with the word you. Because what happens is you create a barrier. I'm saying this, I'm saying that, I'm saying that, and the whole audience is out there thinking, maybe they agree, maybe they don't. You don't know. And since you haven't invited them in, it's like there's a wall. You're talking and there's like this wall between you and the audience. And other thing is to think about what's relevant to the audience. Your audience, what's their nature, what are they going to be interested in, what's going to pull them in, because
When the audience leaves your speech, ideally they will take something with you. The goal is you want the audience to be better having heard your speech afterwards. So afterwards they're saying, wow, I know something I didn't know before, I'm better at the business of you know about that, the whole idea of attitude. It's something you take away that's really powerful. To bounce off a Rocky's point, it can be kind of creepy talking to people. You get one or two choices. Either you turn around and you're looking at your midsection, which is uncomfortable, or you go like this, and there's someone behind you, right behind you, talking, and that gets all your creep kind of ideas going. So in general, in this situation, either stay in the back or something, but just better not do it. Just use the front up there. Stories. Everything was kind of an example, etc. You had a story in you, but it didn't come out. So think about stories, seen, known, and heard. What you can see, what's the background of it, and then the dialogue between them. And then, really, what's the point? What is the point we're supposed to get out of this? I know you're just kind of making stuff up there and you're talking because you got some spare time. But if you got time, what's your point? And make that clear. So when the audience leaves, they leave with that point. Whatever else they get out of it, I know that Rocky's all about moral power. I know that Patrick's about attitude. I know that. That's the point. I got it. Here, I don't know what the point is. I'm just kind of like, okay, different ideas, you're thinking this stuff. What does that have to do with me? So as you start developing and growing your speech, those are kind of the big feedback.
Because you did it obviously spur of the moment, a lot of the things that I'm going to say, I'm sure would not be true in a speech that you had prepared in advance. First of all, again, admire the courage. You got up here and you seemed, I thought, very confident. Tim talked a little about openness, which Patrick has. You were not as open as Patrick, but you also didn't seem to be terribly closed off. I thought you seemed confident and moved easily. You have a nice, clear voice, which I liked. It was easy to understand. You were obviously very comfortable with the idea of the stream of consciousness talking to us, and you felt as if, I think, you could give us information that we could use. What I would like is one of the things that Tim talked about, which is even for an impromptu speech, when I have to do something on the spur of the moment, I think, okay, these are the 3 things I'm going to work in. And I try to, in the beginning, say, today I'd like to just introduce myself to you and tell you about my love of cats, how I love to travel, and the time I fell overboard in Lake Michigan. So at least we got some idea of where we're going. You seem to be wanting to talk about the importance of experiencing life and not dwelling in your own head. At least that was the impression I got, but I really was not sure where you were going with this. One point you started saying that I think is totally useless. The universe doesn't care what you think. Just shout, I think, to the universe. And then you had a great pause, and you said, I think what you'll realize is, so you just said the same thing. If you had used the word perhaps, you would have avoided doing what you just told us not to do. And you also said that you were sure that on your gravestone there would be nothing that had ever been in your head, nothing you've ever thought of. And I wasn't sure if you were saying because I'm an idiot, or if you were saying because nothing anyone ever thinks of is important enough to be on a gravestone. I could not tell what you were trying to get to us, and I felt there was something there, and it was something I was interested in, but you just kept sort of dancing around it. It also would have been nice, you said that you enjoy doing comedy. There were quite a few places here where you might have had some humor. So for example, the part where nothing I think is ever going to be on my gravestone, and you could say, because I am an idiot, or because nobody would enjoy it, or because I'm not Rene Descartes, whatever. Also on the subject of the eye contact, I did find the eye contact scary. You have very good eye contact and you would stick with people, but you seem to be unblinking, which to me was it wasn't tense. So as has been mentioned before, in a larger venue, perhaps not so scary. Smaller venue, kind of like if you had lasers, we would all be dead. I congratulate you on having the courage to get up here and get this feedback from a group of strangers when you're a little out of practice. I do think you genuinely have something in there that I would really like to hear. I'm just not quite sure what you were trying to get across.